I move the governing board approve agenda item A, we only have A, in accordance with policy BEDP-R.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is general, the Arizona School Boards Association Policy Advisories. Mr. Stolz.
Already?
You did such a great job the first time.
Governing Board President, Governing Board members, Cabinet. I come to you with 6 policy advisories. The first one is Policy Advisory 435. This one is one that has been a long time coming. We've been working with the Arizona School Boards Association for 2.5 years, trying to come up with a policy that would allow the district or allow teachers to provide policy for the district and teachers on approved technologies and specifically social networking. This is the first time they've had a policy on it. There's been an awful lot of controversy across the United States with different things going on Facebook pages, Twitter pages, blogs, and things like that, that unfortunately have hurt some people's careers unfairly. So I truly appreciate the fact that ASBA took the time to go through. I mean, again, it's been a long time coming. Some of the biggest issues that they've addressed is that, and I believe their wording was very correct, the second item on here is that district employees are responsible for the content of their posting on any form of technology through any form of communication. The posting them by themselves, to me, is the critical wording there, because we've seen some issues where somebody else posted something that a teacher or an employee got in trouble for. This specifically sets a policy that the employee is responsible for their posting. Okay? It allows us to go back and assist that person to get rid of stuff that may not have come from them, that truly isn't theirs at all. But at the same time, it does set a level of responsibility that if you do post something that is to parents or students that is inappropriate, you are responsible for that. Shall ensure that technologies used to communicate with students and direct staff are maintained separate from personal technologies from personal technologies used to communicate with others. This, to me, gives a direct delineation between what is a personal social website or a personal social technology and what is a professional technology. And that's where some of the issues across the United States have come out that have caused some issues. It does require that the governing board annually let the teachers or let the employees overall know what technologies are approved by the governing board and how those can be used.
For communicating with
students and parents.
Okay.
It specifically directs, we need to allow our employees to know or let the employees know what technologies are approved for communicating with parents and students.
And also that there is a policy on this.
Correct.
Yeah.
This will completely change the what we in the past have called the acceptable use policy. That in the next one becomes the Electronic Information Services Agreement. So that all of this is within that, as well as training. Now, we do training with all of our staff at the beginning of the school, of every school year, and it does include the technology training as well. We do vodcasts, and this last year I met personally with all of the staff for approximately 2.5 to 3 hours training, because if you remember, we were implementing a new student information system. So as part of that training, we incorporated technology, and specifically had conversations about social networks, blogs, Twitters, and things like that, because of the fact that it had been at that time in the headlines quite a bit. We did have some long conversations about that. This allows us the avenue to set specific guidelines and provides a policy to follow.
Mr. Stoles, in this policy recommendation, what about the teachers who have, developed these strong relationships with students? Students have passed their class, they're now with another student, they're still a student of the district. Does this, is this addressing the students of the district and employees of the district, or is it specifically for the students of that specific teacher at the time?
This is addressing students of the district and parents of the district.
Okay.
As long as it, and I was really surprised that it didn't go further on to former students as well, because that was one of the issues that was in the headlines last year.
Mm-hmm.
This has leveled it as students in the district, parents in the district. And I'm not seeing any specific guidelines stating it's only their classroom of students.
Okay. So I assume something like this would need to be followed up with a regulation?
Absolutely.
Spell out. Okay. Any other questions on this? Thank you.
The next advisory is use of technology, resources, and instruction. This is in support of the new FCC and USAC regulations, which require us to provide training to all of our staff and students on internet safety and cyberbullying. That has been implemented. Again, it's in all of our technology classes. It's one of the modules they teach. It's also in our acceptable use policy that goes home to every parent every year, as well as the training to the staff. And I have to sign an affidavit every year to qualify for E-rate funding, stating that we're doing this training. This is just formalizing that, which we've never had a formal policy on. And one last item on that, it says that the district shall monitor online behaviors and provide all students with instruction related to the appropriate online behaviors. In 1998, we were one of the first districts, actually we were the first district in the United States to use Gaggle, which is an email service specifically for students. It has filtering capabilities in it, so it monitors all of the words that go to the emails, not only electronically, but if anything happens, they actually have a person look at the email. Any email is not delivered until it's been fully analyzed. And if it has anything in it that is recognized as a bullying word, a dirty word, an inappropriate word, it automatically goes to the teacher of that classroom, so that that teacher can read the email and determine whether it's just a misunderstanding or whether appropriate action needs to be taken, good, bad, or indifferent. So we've been monitoring our students' emails for years electronically to ensure that, and that's both incoming and outgoing. So if an email comes from the outside, it goes through that same filter. That same filter also has technology which can look at a photograph and take skin color down 7 layers and can tell you whether it's a bikini or somebody without a bikini on. Literally, it can tell the difference between all of that. So we've never had an issue with anything getting through. We have had issues where 2 kids got into a little tiff on an email, not that any adults ever would. It notified the teacher, and the teacher instantly took care of the issue. And so, I mean, we've taken everything to the nth degree on that, as well as the filtration of everything that goes in and out of our network is filtered. And while I get an awful lot of flack from some people within the district, we are filtered to the lowest level that has access to technology. So I always tell my people, if a kindergartner can't go home and talk to mom and dad about what they saw on the internet today, I'm in trouble. And so we literally filter it that low. We have teachers and we have policies and procedures in place so that a teacher can say, hey, I need to get to this website or get to this video so that we can teach this PO or EPO, and we open those up and allow them to get to it. The next one is policy advisory number 437, the admission of resident students. The admission of resident students, this policy became a whole lot longer. And basically what it did was it gave specific guidelines on what is required of a parent to prove residency for their child to attend the district. And it sets specific items such as valid driver's license, property deeds, mortgage documents, and so forth, if they own or are the primary residents in a home. At the same time, it provided for if the family is not the primary residence within a home, that they have to do a residency documentation form. If they do not own the home, then the owner of the home or the resident of the home, such as a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, or a friend in a multifamily home, has to, under Exhibit JFAAEB, has to do an acknowledgement and have it notarized to turn into the district to show proof of residency for that family.
How does this affect our homeless students?
The homeless students fall under McKinney-Vento, which has a totally different set of rules and regulations.
So this is just for the students that were crossing the border to go to the schools in Arizona that didn't live in Arizona? Is that?
No, ma'am. It's actually to ensure that all of us have the proper paperwork on record for a residency within the district. Okay. ARS 15802 doesn't say anything about crossing the border. What it says is we have to provide proof that that child is living in a home that's inside the district of what it really does. Whether it's owned by the family or owned by a friend or a parent or a legal guardian or something like that, that's all it's doing is showing the proof of residency within our district. Okay? But the McKinney-Vento rules still apply. Policy advisory number 438, tuition admission of non-resident students. Pretty much gave the same thing, whether they're a resident or not. You know, we do take out of district families. So it's just carrying over the same requirement so that we do know where that child resides legally when they do enroll into the district. And the fact that we're going to have to retain all of this documentation within the district set by the Arizona Schools and Libraries regulations. And the last one, which is clarification, and it is a clarification of policy number 404, Public Records Law or Right to Know Freedom of Information Act. And what it is nowhere in the law does it state that an individual absolutely has to request the information in writing. They can request it verbally. We in the past have asked people to come in and fill out the public information request. The only process change for us is if the individual does not want to put it in writing, whoever is taking that information from the person will fill out the form and just put down in the signature area that it was taken by this individual instead of in writing. And the reason we would do that is the fact that we want to make 110% sure we always timestamp the request. It goes through the process so that we know when it was received, so that we are turning it around in a speedy fashion. At the same time, we keep record of the information request for future purposes. If somebody comes back and says, "Why did you give that information out?" we know what information it was and when it was given out and why. Yes, sir.
Just just put it back in my own words, what I think I heard is the only thing we're changing is if someone requests this without putting it in writing, we put it in writing and they sign it.
They do not have to sign it.
Okay, but it's still a record-keeping form for our own sake.
For our own purposes, we can keep our own record,
Yeah.
and obviously just so that we keep a record of the fact that we have given this information out. Would not be the first time somebody has called me and said, why'd you give that information out? It's public information by law, we have to give it out. So it's to cover us so that we know what was given out
Yeah.
and when it was given out. But they do not have to sign the document, nor do they have to put the request in writing. That's the only change, or the only clarification. And apparently some districts were saying, we won't give you any information unless you fill it out in writing. And that's why the clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
This is first reading on these policy advisories. Are there any further questions, comments from Mr. Stoles or for each other?
I think there was one more policy, 404.
Did I miss one?
Yeah, the bullying.
Thank you. There's not a policy at the end.
This is another clarification. House Bill 2415 assigns the district's responsibility for defining bullying, harassment, and intimidation, for which the JICK model includes recommendation definitions. And at the same time, they incorporated the term sexual preference into the clarification of student violence, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. The only thing that they put in here is the term sexual preference was included in the above paragraph, which is from the ASBA. The terminology used in Title VII, R7 TAC 2, TAC 1308 is sexual orientation, not sexual preference, which we substituted in the ASBA model because this term is an optional, not mandatory inclusion for districts. So they've changed it from sexual orientation, which the Title VII refers to sexual preference in the ASBA regulation.
Now, when we went and updated this policy as a board, I think 2 years ago, we put something like perceived or real.
Real or perceived, and it was orientation, I believe. I don't know if there's an issue with that in our bullying policy not matching, but someone may want to look at that.
Okay.
And that would be up to the, again, the terminology is optional based upon the ASBA's comment.
I can look at it. So I might bring it up tonight. Thank you. Okay, that's first reading. Thank you very much.
Well, now I don't know that we did.
Bring in, like the size, of course,
Economic status.
we didn't do any of that.
If we want, we can bring it up for a future agenda. And
Well, this is first reading, right?
yeah, and that was for
404.
yeah. We can definitely bring it because there wasn't a policy attached to this one at the end. We can
Clarification.
yeah, so we can look at ours and match it up if it's necessary to do a refresh.
I think it would, because a lot of times we do things from our own perspective, and whereas some on the board mentioned that they had been bullied as a child in school, some of us haven't been, or not with social media at all, because social media wasn't around when I was in school. We were still cranking up the telephone. Anyway, you don't think of all this stuff, I didn't think of economic status or a size of a person to bully a person on their size one way or another. And so I think we should bring it up and compare the two.
So I'll make sure to bring that up at future agenda items at the end so we can put it on the calendar. The next item is another first read of our naming